Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I will be talking about Gurzil by I Anonymous, which I received an ARC copy that I have here from the author. So this one is a bit different from what I typically read, and so I have been trying to branch out a little bit more, so I was interested to try this. This definitely falls quite a bit more on the historical fiction side than what I normally read. I do have some other historical fiction things that I've been meaning to read, and it involved some history that I was familiar with, including Arthurian legend. So it was interesting, but it takes place largely around Europe and northern Africa, kind of still dealing with the wake of the fall of the Roman Empire. And then a lot of battles that are starting to happen, and war and betrayal and that sort of thing. And it centers around Gurzil, the horned god, who is a evil dragon, basically, that's been manipulating a lot of events, and it's kind of woven in to show that Gurzil has been affecting quite a lot of plots going on, and is very, very relevant to what's happening here in this story being told as well. So like I said, this is, I would say, more so historical fiction. What I was, I probably shouldn't have been, but what I was a little surprised to find out is just how much of the characters and like a lot of the events here are from actual like history and legends. So I definitely caught some, especially, like I said, the Arthurian legend, which is something I'm more familiar with. But there was quite a lot more from like Germanic tribes and the Saxons and the Vandals and what's now modern Libya. All kinds of different characters. And different kind of plots and historical events were put in there. I actually talked to the author afterwards, and he sent me some different like little videos or like things to read online as well, and that actually like made me enjoy it even a little bit more, because I do like history, but I'm not by any means the most well versed in it. So I definitely think that if you are somebody who is really into historical fiction or into this time period in general, and more well versed in it, I definitely would recommend this as something for you, because you will probably catch a lot that I did not. But I still think there's definitely still plenty of story here, even if you're like me and did not really get everything that was going on as being real history. I sent a message to the author afterward asking if Gurzil was like inspired from anything or an invention, and he told me that yes, Gurzil is based on legends of the horned god, which wasn't. It doesn't sound like traditionally looked at to be a dragon, so that was kind of a change taken for the story. But it works well with the way that it's put into the story. Like I said, I think it made it pretty interesting for how it's going. So you'll definitely see some faces you recognize. If you're really familiar with your history, you'll probably see a lot more faces that you recognize besides Uther, Arthur, Morgana, Merlin, and the like, all who do make appearances here, although this isn't by any means like an Arthurian retelling. It's really looking at the more broader geopolitical situation. So there's definitely there's the politics and the intrigue and the battles and the strategy and a lot of that going in here, which kept it an interesting read. And then toward the end, it starts to really introduce more different kinds of legends and also set up a lot for what's coming. So this does feel like a lot of this is to set up what's going to be coming and really just set the stage for it. Although there was a lot of interesting things going on. It did start a little bit hard to like jump straight in and kind of know what was going on, because we do some flashbacks at the beginning and then kind of throughout seeing different things. So like I said, that's somewhat to be expected in a first book where you're spending a lot more time on setup. Once I got into it, I really had no problems with seeing where like following the story, so to speak. At the beginning, it was just a little bit like, what's happening now? But I got past that pretty quickly as I was going through. My main issues that I had with the book, there were some like minor editing things, and this was an advanced copy, so I sent my feedback back to the author too. Sounds like a lot of it was also caught and are going to be changed. So with advanced reading copies, you always have to know, even if it's coming from like a big publisher or if it's self-pub like this, you definitely sometimes will get the copy that's got some stuff in it. And there wasn't a ton in here as well. It looked like it had already gone through some pretty good editing. I did not find a crazy amount of things. And then the only other thing was that there were sometimes where like the dialogue or like the word choice just felt a little bit off for the time period. And I did share that feedback with the author as well too, and it sounds like more of that's going to be changing. So really, my really only complaints here were definitely things that it sounds like are being addressed. So it's always good to know, and it's nice being able to provide that feedback straight to an author. So I was glad to be able to have the chance to read this and go from there. And I am interested to see where this is going to go. It does end on a bit of a cliffhanger, just kind of abruptly goes in there, and I imagine will continue directly into the next book. But there's a lot that is being set up, and even with like knowing, granted, I imagine, like I said, I will fully admit I'm not the most well versed in history, but knowing some of like the general things that happen in history, there's still a lot of twists and turns, and it remains to be seen how many liberties will be taken, since this is, it's historical fiction, it's still fiction, and it has some of these fantastical elements, so things definitely could change, and it does keep you guessing a little bit with what is going to be happening, even with some of the characters that may be familiar. The characters here, I feel like, were written to be fairly different, and they're written with many different groups of people and people from different areas as well. So you definitely get the different feel of these characters, and like I said, toward the end, there's a lot more that's kind of brought into it that's getting ready to be happening, where other legends are brought in, other types of things are happening, and so it'll be really interesting to see where this is going to go. It does specifically, like the tagline in the back is, "Against the darkness, two heroes will rise. They come from worlds apart, bound together by magic and cursed by fate." And then continues on from there. So it does sound like, and I think it becomes pretty evident who the characters we're talking about are there, but it sounds like we're going to have more happening there and developing. So I think this will be an interesting one, like I said, to kind of see how this turns out. But it was an interesting read, and I did overall enjoy it. And like I said, I really liked hearing more about the history and kind of learning about it, because it was very interesting. And it was just kind of cool after reading this and then seeing like, oh, this is some of the stuff it's based on. So I would recommend, if you, like I said, if you are big into historical fiction, and you like your fantastical elements too, or if you're not and read it too, finding out some more, looking up some stuff. The author told me most characters in the book you can probably find a Wikipedia page for, and there's all kinds of other resources out there too. Talk about the different battles and everything. So, but it made it an interesting time going through. So really, those were my thoughts on Gurzil by I, Anonymous. Here, I'll put a link out to the book on Amazon. It's not an affiliate link or anything, because I don't have an affiliate account with Amazon anymore. I got declined at one point after having it for a while and never reapplied. So I won't get anything from it. But if you're interested in the book, check the link down below, and I'll put a link to it where you can purchase this book. If this does sound like your thing, like I said, I think it's definitely something that I think a lot of people will appreciate even more than I did, and I thought it was a fairly solid story on its own merits, even without knowing a lot of the behind the like history type stuff. So definitely check that out if you are interested. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like. Check the link in the description for the Wizardly Duo Discord, as always. It's a lot of fun there, and we would love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.